What's up? Welcome in. It is the CHGO Bears Podcast presented by PointsBet. Use code CHGO to live your bet life and get up to $2,000 in free bets. What's going on, Bears fans? Adam Hogue alongside Nicholas Moriano, and my good friend Mark Carman is here with us today wearing a Chicago Sting shirt.
That's right, baby. Sting, Chicago Stadium, indoor, right here. History. Hey, CHGO, I figured I'd go old school.
Yes.
Did you just did you have that memorized?
Yes.
You did.
Well, we've been doing this every day for the past, I don't know how many shows we've done. Maybe someone else in here knows, but yeah.
I'm impressed. Just put it out there. I don't think I would have it
Now,
memorized.
the longer one you'll hear in 20 minutes, that I do not have memorized.
Okay,
Although
okay.
I probably could.
By the way, thanks for having me. Good to be here. Hi, Nick.
What's going on, Mark? What's great about having Mark on set, too, now we have two Iowa Hawkeyes to the one Badger here on set. So this is already great.
In heaven, there is no beer. Greater
I
than
didn't
Bucky.
think about that before I invited you in here.
Yeah.
We might need to remove you now.
Class of, I won't say it. It was a great tenure. Loved it. I'd go back and do it again. I know you would too.
68? 68?
Right there.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I have to say, the shirts in this place today are on point. You got this Sweet Marvel shirt. You got the Chicago Sting shirt. Where's Lawrence? Lawrence has Blades of Steel, the old Nintendo hockey game.
Okay.
A T-shirt version. I think he went to go get lunch or something. By the time the show's over, we got to show that shirt on camera for people watching on YouTube. Jake Flanagan's wearing a Jim McMahon jersey today.
That was impressive.
Throwbacks.
Yes.
Love it.
And I wore a collar for the first time, I think, ever.
It's a White Sox one, though, so that definitely works.
Well, Karn was nice enough to invite me to the White Sox game today.
Sweet.
And I felt like I had to show a little class, so I put on a collared shirt.
Technically, Hogue invited himself, but it all worked out. He's like, "Hey, do you want to come on the show?" I'm like, "I would love to come on the show. I'd like to be out by X time because I've got the scout seats today, which is all you can eat, all you can drink, right?" And so they're like, "I'd love a scout seat." I'm like, "Actually, I think there might be an extra scout seat."
Wait a minute. Whoa.
That's how it went down. I could go text chain right here.
No, we could do text chain.
I can't believe we're getting to go to this.
No, because what happened I asked you if you could come on the show, and you just said on Zoom, and then before you even waited for like any more details about the show, you're like, "I have scout seats today," and I was like, "Is this an invitation, or are you just bragging about how you have scout seats?"
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I'm interested how the chat would break that one down as to.
It goes step by step there.
Now I'm tempted to go back and see the actual chain, but we'll just let it go.
We can look
I'm
at
excited
it.
to go to the Sox game with you today, buddy.
It's a great day to go to
I'm
baseball
excited.
game, though.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's a nice day.
I'm glad the White Sox panic has subsided after winning 6 in a row and losing one bad game. And okay, they're
That
fine.
was a bad game.
I know.
It was a bad. We did half our show yesterday on bad
White
Bears
Sox,
games just because of how bad that Sox game was.
Inspired a segment.
And then everybody got really sad and okay, we're better. It's Wednesday. Joe here says he's got a 1990-91 Northwestern hockey shirt.
Wow.
Okay.
Did they have hockey back then?
Apparently.
It must have been club hockey.
Somebody call Les Grobstein in the sky right now because he would know. I honestly have no idea.
Skate hard, carry a big stick.
Okay. I like it.
All right.
Hey. 90s Cats, great NIT run. Ricky Birdsong, thinking of you right now on this show. Loved him.
That's
Anyway,
your guy.
but,
That's
yeah.
your guy. All right. Well, unfortunately, the topic today that we are starting with is not the most heartwarming story, but it's a necessary topic. First of all, just want to give Tarik Cohen a lot of credit for having the courage to write what he wrote in the Players Tribune, putting it all out there, and it's tough because here's a guy who was, quite frankly, a very good Bear.
Yeah.
When he was here and healthy, earned a second contract, was a fourth-round pick, had exceeded the expectations of being a fourth-round pick, and all we knew publicly, and even those of us that are around the team, knew about the injury, which occurred a week after he signed that second contract. Mm-hmm. And at the time, it was essentially from what the team put out, just torn ACL. He'll be back because that's what players do with torn ACLs. And then Obviously, last year played out. He did not play because that was obviously still an issue. And then the only other thing we knew really going on in his personal life was that his twin brother, had been killed in what was kind of a freak story where he was involved in a car accident and then got electrocuted climbing, some type of electrical structure. And it was very sad. So we knew all that last year, but we sure as hell did not know the depths of what he had been dealing with really going back to before he was even drafted by the Bears in the family. So he put it all out there. If you haven't seen it, it's a Players Tribune story, and the Players Tribune is an outlet where players write their own stuff. I'm sure they get some help, and there's editors involved, but they're able to put things out in their own voice, and not necessarily through reporters where stories can sometimes change. Anyway, we can go through some of this, guys, but one of the reasons why I wanted to have you in here, Carm, because I saw some of your tweets and you had some instant thoughts on all this, so I want to just give you a chance to share that.
Yeah, well, we've heard from time to time, maybe more than time to time, and I don't want to get myself in trouble with anybody behind a Twitter screen or whatever, but, you see it all the time. This guy's soft. I'm like, hold on a second. This dude is in the NFL. It's physical to play high school football, to get through that. It's physical to go through college football. These guys are in the NFL. Like, you can't call these guys soft. It's just a ridiculous take. And, like, any athlete, by the way, outside of the fact that just the insane amount of competition, forget about the physicality, just the determination to get there. So I don't get that take at all. So when people were blasting Tarik last year, and he didn't have to and probably shouldn't have, but he defended himself. It's like, nobody knows what's going on. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm actually glad you did, sort of, but, like, don't listen to the noise all at the same time. So, and then you hear the real story. It's like, oh, man, like, that's just upsetting, right? And then, the story itself is just, the amount of pressure, man, to trying to take care of your family, take care of your brother, the mom's doing everything that she can to give him the best circumstance, changing schools, not changing schools. And then you get to the injury part and the Bears part of it. It's like, how do you not say, hey, Tarik's not just dealing with an ACL, he's dealing actually with 3 separate issues, really, and we have no idea when he's going to return, but if you know anything about Tarik, is that he's going to put everything possible into it, and we believe that he's going to get back and be the same Tarik Cohen at some point down the line. But as far as a timeline, we have no idea, and we don't want that pressure on him. It's better for the organization. It's better for him. It's better for when you're recruiting players down the line. I get it if the Bears are the only offer out there, and that's the best money, they're going to come to you. But you still want your organization to be looked at in a first-class manner, right? The Bears are moving towards that. Now, this is old regime, so different. But the whole thing just like, oh, man, like, this was just handled so poorly, so hence my tweets.
And two, with Tarik Cohen obviously being a 4th-round draft pick, he wasn't guaranteed anything. North Carolina AT&T, and there was a quote in the story, said, sitting here now, looking back on everything, it almost feels like with football, you kind of made a deal with the devil or something. Yeah. Like, all that happened was somehow the price you had to pay to make it to the NFL and be successful, and you read the story and see everything that he went through. It's like, this guy has only worked his entire life to get to this point, but like you said, Mark, like, he's balancing all these things, trying to be the oldest brother, trying to give money to his family who are definitely going through some things, and trying to also manage this life of being an NFL player, which all the pressure that comes with it. So it's sad that, a guy like that who was loved by Bears fans, especially with everything he was able to do initially on the field, and then the injury happens, like you said, Adam, after he gets the contract, and still trying to work his way back into things, but knowing that an achievement of making the NFL, it's like making a deal with the devil. Yeah. It shouldn't have to be that way, but for some players, that's kind of the circumstances they're in.
Well, I want to be careful to – the whole point of writing this in the Players Tribune is for him to be able to tell it his way. Mm-hmm. So I do want to be careful and kind of like retelling what he wrote, because – the whole point is that you read this and you kind of feel it straight from his voice. But I'll share this part to kind of set up what we'll discuss here. But so essentially what he did was write a letter to his 17-year-old self to prepare his 17-year-old self for what was going to come. And this is an excerpt of the letter. Look, nothing I can write in this letter could possibly prepare you for everything that is about to happen. I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. There's just so much. Looking back on it all, it almost doesn't seem real. There will be a big bag of crack cocaine. There will be a gun right there in your hand, ready to shoot to help you get revenge. There will be death in the family, unimaginable loss. And that's only for starters. It's going to be a lot. And you know what? I wouldn't fault you if you want to stop reading this letter right here. Not one bit. And to get back to what you were talking about, Nick, about like the deal with the devil. So his family, when he was a senior in high school, had to move away like an hour away. And he decided to stay with his aunt so he could stay in the same high school program because he was getting looked at by colleges. He knew he was a special football player and didn't want to mess all that up. And he knew in his eyes, he felt like he could take care of his family, you know, if football was his ticket. So he stayed there. And now, as he writes in this letter, again, these are, you know, his words, the way he put it, was he felt like if he had not made that decision and stayed with his brothers that year, that they wouldn't have gone down the path that they did, specifically the one that got into pretty heavy drug dealing. That's tough, man. Like feeling that guilt when I think anybody who reads this can understand that all Tarik was doing was the right thing. Yeah. You know, thinking that he could take care of his family if he channeled everything into football, make it to where he did. And it's just the timing of it. By the time he actually got the real money, which came with the second contract, I know a lot of people out there, this is another misconception. We talk about players being soft. Yes, a $600,000 signing bonus seems like a crap ton of money that we would all love to get. But when you literally have no money and your family has no money and you had negative $90 in your bank account before you got that money and everybody now is looking at you as like the provider for the entire family, I'm not going to pretend to know specifics of that situation, but I could tell you that money could probably run dry pretty fast. Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially when, again, there's so many like things that are going on in his life, but I think this letter really highlights the underlying things that players are really going through that we have no idea about. Especially with Tarik, he's like been one of the most happy-go-lucky players in that locker room since the moment he walked in there.
It's a weird place to be to even speak on this, but look, logically, we know that it is not Tarik's job to take care of his brothers. It's his brother's job to take care of his brothers. Tarik is taking care of himself. He's making a life for himself. They have the same opportunity to do the same. So, like, I mean, maybe that sounds harsh, but that's the reality. Or maybe they don't have the talent that Tarik has. But I'd like to push back on that part, too. And, listen, who knows what's going on here? I don't have a deep God conversation at CHGO right now. But, like, look, the part of the reason why you're there is because you worked your ass off. There's the dedication part. Like if you listen to any athlete talk about it, and one guy that I like to bring up, Ray Allen, he greatest shooter of all time, right? NBA. He didn't consider himself a great shooter. He would get in the gym and he would work and work and work and work. Tarik Cohen, like at the moment that I remember getting introduced to him when he does the backflip double catch, right? Like he didn't just walk out there and do that. He probably was out there for, hours, days, months, whatever, that he. So it's just, I get like that. It's probably very hard to sit with like, why am I the guy that gets to do this? But I would just like to, sort of remind him, hey man, part of the reason you're here is the effort that you have put in, the connections that you've built. So it's just I get it's a really hard thing to balance, but it's kind of painful to hear from me. Yeah, it is a painful thing to read, and so that's why I don't want to harp too much on like the specifics of what he was dealing with in his life. I'll let you read the letter for that, and it's just heartbreaking is what it is. And I know, I'm not going to pretend to like know him still obviously that well, but he sure seems like a great kid and always has. And it's tough to see that. And I hope that he's able to. I hope the knee gets right. He did put in that letter that he feels like he's getting back to himself finally. But this leads to a bigger discussion that I think we can have just about athletes in general, which is like you got to put everybody's situation sort of in a vacuum because that's the life that they're living.
and you don't necessarily know what's going on in that life. And it may seem like they have all these great things going on, and they may drive these nice cars because they got these big contracts, but like you don't know what they're dealing with. Same goes for everybody. You know, the three of us, everyone watching, listening to this show, and I think sometimes in sports we lose sight of that because these guys become our heroes, right?
Right.
And that's what's tough. And I also, Carm, I think to your point, like I feel like teams can do a better job of humanizing these guys. And it's okay when a guy has an injury to give more details. Now, if Tarik didn't want the specifics of his own knee issues out there, then that's his call, and maybe that was the case. But I just didn't understand last year, like why it was so secret what was going on, when I feel like they could have deflected some of that obvious hate that he was getting, that he references in the letter about being soft. Like, it feels like they could have his back a little bit more.
I mean, I get it if you sprain your ankle on Wednesday and there's a game on Sunday, and let's just say it's a playoff game, that you don't want the opponent to know that. This is totally different. You ain't playing.
He missed almost 2 full seasons.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, protect the player, man. Don't let that linger out there that this guy's soft. Like, hey, man, we just want you to know this is the story with Tarik. And by the way, we expect Tarik to be back because Tarik expects to be back. Whatever it is.
You know what?
However you say it.
I wonder too, you guys, like in the letter again. You should definitely go read it. But he talks about the E60 interview. Doesn't bring any of the details of what had happened in his life prior to that interview. Kind of keeps it in. I don't know if that's like how Tarik is.
Yeah,
like
that's the thing.
Yeah,
and so, and if that was the case, then the Bears had to respect that, and I totally understand that, and that part of it needs to be out there too. It just,
you could do things to at least give enough detail to where you're not constantly asking the question, because we're like wondering during the season, like, is Tarik Cohen, is he ahead of schedule? Where is he at? And it's like there was never a good definitive answer to give us a timetable of like, oh, he'll be back XYZ. So it's like, I think that part of it, the logistics part on the organization, can definitely be done better.
Yeah. Hey, the best way to support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app. Use code CHGO when you sign up, and if you do that right now, you get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. We got to get Karma shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Well, but I don't know. That Chicago Sting shirt's pretty sweet.
It's a winner.
Yeah. So you get $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free T-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet. Any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com. We will help you out. Your home for live in-play betting just got even better because of PointsBet's new feature, the live NBA same-game parlay. For the first time ever, you can build the perfect live NBA same-game parlay only with PointsBet. Boost those parlays, too, so you can watch live, parlay live, and boost live with PointsBet. Online sign-up is available in Illinois. Download the PointsBet app right now. Register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. What are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. All
right, you guys, have a question for you. Do you want to start your day with a competitive edge?
Let's go.
All right, Carm's in. Well, here's how you can do that.
What time did you wake up today, Carm?
That was a 6:23er.
Nice.
Okay, I was a 5:45er.
Okay.
The ER. Adam?
5.
Wow.
Okay, damn.
I was proud of my 6:23.
Yeah, I thought okay,
hell?
never mind. Well, maybe I should have taken my Strava CBD coffee, because it is an absolute game changer and has helped thousands of people to improve their overall wellness and quality of life. Strava delivers delicious, fresh roasted specialty coffee infused with organic, broad-spectrum CBD. And just so you know, CBD from hemp doesn't make you high or hungry, but it does offer real benefits that can help you. Like feeling alert and focused without the jitters, living your day more balanced with less anxiety and fewer aches and pains, plus including CBD in your daily routine can even help you enjoy more restful sleep so you can wake up feeling at your best. And the best part about all of this, Strava is all about quality. Everything is small batch, fresh, and shipped straight to your door. Strava also offers concentrated, full-spectrum CBD tinctures for those looking for a more traditional CBD format with a powerful entourage effect of benefits. CHGO listeners can save 25% off their entire purchase when you use code CHGO25. That's 25% off your entire order at StravaCraftCoffee.com when you use code CHGO25 at checkout. Already love Strava? Subscribe and save with the Strava Coffee Club. With Strava, you are in control. Save on your favorite coffees and have them automatically delivered to your home or office on your preferred schedule.
Mark Carman from Fansided and the Windy City Pod is with us today as we discuss some of the the tough fallout from this Tarik Cohen stuff. Let's just end on this, and then we're going to talk about some other Bears stuff because I want to get your thoughts on some other things, Carm. But it'd be awesome if Tarik Cohen just gets back on the football field soon and can continue what was looking like a pretty promising career. And, I just, on a human level, I want to see that happen. I still feel like he could help the Bears, too, if he ever got back to, I don't know if he'll ever get back to what he was. By the way, the specifics on the injury that were revealed in the story, so it wasn't just an ACL, it was also MCL and a fracture in the tibial plateau, which is, that's a tough injury. I still feel like they didn't know the extent of all that when it happened. So it's still weird how that all played out, in my opinion.
I'm having a blank right now. I don't even remember. Do we ever have video of him getting hurt?
Yes.
It was on a punt return.
It was on a punt return against the Falcons in week 3 of the COVID season.
Okay.
Yeah. The Nick Foles comeback game.
Okay.
Pfizer.
All right, yeah. I'll watch it when we get off here. It's like just remembering back.
Someone got blocked back into him, I want to say.
Yeah, it was.
It didn't look good when it happened.
Okay.
You kind of knew right away it wasn't good.
Yeah, listen. Here, Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, you get yours, Tarik. Go ahead, man. I mean, ideally, if you're going to be that good, just go play for the Texans or someone else. And even though Houston's coming there this year, can't wait to see you, Lovey. Let's go. But you're just rooting for the guy. And also, if a worst case scenario it doesn't work out, I would remind him, you made it to the league, you made a bunch of dough, not as much as you could have, but you made a bunch of dough. You have a huge name in yourself. There's a million things that he can go forward with. So there's opportunity abounds. But I obviously hope that he gets back on the field.
Yeah, 2 things. Maybe he goes like Atlanta's been taking all former Bears, and Ryan Pace gave him that contract, right?
Yeah.
So he signed there. So obviously,
Great point.
Maybe that could be something. But I'll just end on this too. A lot of athletes get a lot of crap on social media for whatever it may be, and nobody knew what Tarik Cohen was going through, and they got a bunch of that. So simple, just be nice to people. It goes back to just being a good person. Like, if you don't have anything nice, just don't say it at all. Like, completely honest. I know social media, it's not a place where
it's not the real world.
It's not the real world, but
before.
Man, just think right before you hit send, like, is this a good idea? And maybe that can change things, but I'll just leave it on that.
We're going down a whole deep path now. Is booing okay? If you're dogging it out there, I think you're free game. But that's a different little corner of the sports world.
I saw a comment in here about that. I mentioned 87-7 the game, Carm.
Okay. That's history right there, baby.
I was trying to. I just saw it briefly in my, out of the corner of my eye.
I mean, we will never forget the year 2014.
For many different reasons.
Yes.
Especially Bears fans.
I mean,
I try to.
Shout out to you, Ben Finfer. I'm thinking of you at this moment. Let's be honest. It's one of the greatest moments in radio history at any radio station ever.
I mean, greatest is one word. I don't know if
I say greatest.
I don't know if he'd agree. It was great.
It was a terrible day, but it was great radio.
It was a notable moment in radio history.
Okay, fine, notable.
Mark could have gone with the 87-7 the game where to miss that radio station. And we appreciate that, Edward.
Thank you.
I still have my hat somewhere.
I had like 13 of those hats in some closet somewhere, but I think they eventually made it to the donation bin. So somebody's got it somewhere, hopefully.
All right. There was one thing I know you want to talk about, Carm, which was how positive they're being with Justin Fields. I can't wait to hear where you're going with this one.
All right. I don't want to get myself in too much trouble here, but it's annoying.
You said that like 3 times now. I feel like you're in trouble.
About to be in trouble.
It's annoying me. I'm listening. So Nick and I were both there on Sunday, and Luke Getsy's talking, and nobody cares more in the room than Justin Fields. Really? Nobody on the Bears cares as much about being on the Bears as Justin Fields. Is that come on, man. I know you guys want us to know that you believe in Justin Fields. I know that you want Justin Fields to know that you believe in Justin Fields. But don't tell me that he cares more than anybody on the team. It's ridiculous. That's absurd. You telling me that name any other Bear that they don't care? Okay, I guess I want to believe you that he's the first guy in and the last guy to leave and that he's working harder than everybody else. But I don't believe that one either. I believe there's other guys that are working just as hard. So it makes me not trust you. It makes me not.
You think they're overselling?
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a used car lot, and it's the Camry that doesn't work anymore. No disrespect to the Camry, whatever. Come on, man.
Wasn't that Mitch's car?
Yeah, right. Yes,
wasn't it the Camry?
Right. That
or
Camry
was it a Corolla?
I think
something
it was
like
Camry.
that.
It's just like they're going to such lengths to let you know that they believe in Fields. It's making me believe less in Fields, and I want to believe in Fields. Yeah. I don't need the sales job here.
Okay.
He's connecting great with everybody. How do you know how well he's connecting with everyone? Were you what are you talking? Like you saw him standing over there in the corner, they had a great connection? It doesn't add up to me. Other than the fact they're just trying to sell it.
Yeah. See though, but everything I know about Justin Fields, it does sound like he is that guy.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think that they're. But I think the lesson learned was Mitch was that guy too. Like he cared. He put in the work. Yeah. Nobody had a problem with him and how much work he put in. He couldn't throw the ball accurately enough, and he couldn't make the right decisions enough. And so that's ultimately what matters. So that's where I'm coming halfway to your point. If he's truly that guy, then I understand why the coaches are going to say that about him. So I don't necessarily think they're like overselling it or lying.
We've been impressed with his work ethic. Is that not enough?
I want to see. And right now there's nothing we can see on the practice field really, or tape that's going to make us feel better about. Hey, is he getting the ball out faster? Is he making faster decisions? What does his offense look like? Is it going to help him? And that's going to honestly be a hard part on this show for the next few months until we actually start seeing the stuff, at least in training camp.
The day that I was at Hell's with you and we were watching, I thought it looked like it was coming out quicker. Now, that's my standing at Hell's Hall, watching indoors, in shorts, have no idea what...
Were you talking about like his release?
Yeah, just his release, which, I mean... shout out Ed Obradovich. I mean, the guy was yelling about it all last year that it's way too long, way too long.
Got a longer motion.
And a lot of people said it. So to me, it just looked like he was boom, boom. And I'm like, okay. And those are changes you can make. And then we've heard about how he's changing that his front foot is now his left foot. Okay, so he's mechanical changes are being made along with an offense that's come in to fit him better. I'm not saying he's not going to be great. I'm not saying that I didn't spend yesterday searching YouTube and watching highlights of Justin Fields and just remembering like his phenomenal moments in the 4th-and-1 run against the 49ers and getting that like this guy is, absolutely elite athletically, and if put in the right system with talent around him, why couldn't he be successful? I also do think, like, when you look at the draft this year, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this a bunch, 10, 11, 12 were all guys that he was throwing to. So he had some pretty damn good options at Ohio State that helps a quarterback out. Now we're, and I hope Velus is great, but he ain't those guys. He ain't getting back to 10, 11, and 12. So I just think it's makes me a little queasy.
Yeah, and I mean, look, because I think, too, the Bears are selling us on the system. That's going to elevate Fields when really, I mean, the NFL, too, is about having the players and not just having the system in place. Yeah. So we can't really make any, I guess, decisions right here, right now in May. We'll have to see when training camp comes to see how he's looking in there. But the competition come Sunday is what's really going to matter with Justin Fields. And he is getting right now a bunch of national, I think, putback just from what everyone's kind of saying about him. Like, oh, he's not going to take that next step. And you go to the weapons that he doesn't have. So I get it. It's May. We need talking points.
Well, Carm, let me ask you this. I mean, how do you feel about what Ryan Poles has done so far. Like, are you on board with his approach?
100%. Like, okay, so 9 offensive linemen get taken off the board and 8 wide receivers. I might have those numbers mixed up. And you're taking the number 2 cornerback?
Mm-hmm.
You have 1 cornerback? I'm with you, man. You got problems all over the place. You love Jaquan Brisker? You got Eddie Jackson hanging out. I'm with you. Great. And Bayless, supposedly you're overdrafting him, but you see a certain skill set. I'm with you there too. And okay, you're Mr. Offensive Lineman. You're taking a shot on 4 guys. Hopefully you hit on 1. I totally get it. So I actually thought the draft was great. I mean, didn't trade down early because he wasn't going to get value there. Mm-hmm. I thought everything he did made a whole lot of sense to me. So, and I like listening to him. Outside, and I don't feel as oversold on Fields from Ryan as I do perhaps from others. But although he's doing his part too. But I like how he went about the draft for sure.
Mark, with this season, I mean, honestly, what are kind of the expectations that you have? Again, whole new regime, and again, there's so many question marks on offense. But it is an easier schedule, and we'll get that schedule released tomorrow, actually. But honestly, what are the expectations for the Bears?
So get to 7, right? I for this question, I took my notes here because to the earlier part, I didn't think I could remember it. Texans,
okay.
Dolphins, Eagles, Detroit, Minnesota at home.
Okay.
Can you get those? That's 5, and then on the road, Atlanta, Giants, Jets. That's
Very
8.
doable.
So, okay, you're not going to win all of them, but you're probably you're going to get a couple of the others. The schedule is, you got a lot of winnable games. So, a lot of people are going under. What's the number at 6.5 right now? I mean, if
well, the way people are talking about it, though, the
like
6.5 seems high.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
You got people thinking, and I'm like, no, that seems. In fact, the reason to me 6.5 is exactly where I would put it too. It's because this is a team that won 6 games.
Right.
And they've probably lost some talent, but a lot of that is going to end up being addition by subtraction, most notably with the coaching staff,
Right.
Yep.
which is going to have a positive effect on the whole operation. And this was something I was talking to Danny Parkins about, your buddy, on the radio the other day, and Matt Spiegel, that I don't think Parkins was buying what I was selling, so I would have been Luke Getsy in this situation, and you would have been, and he would have been you, where you're just not, and that's fine. But it's just the idea of, yes, they're not going to have the most talented offensive depth chart, but go back and watch the tape from last year and like the last 2 years and how dysfunctional they were. And if you could just become functional, that's going to be a better offense, even if you're lacking the same talent, because you were wasting the talent before.
True.
To that point, and to everything I said about Fields, I think there is a 0% chance that he's worse than he was last year. I think it's a guarantee that he's better. Okay, I think it's a guarantee that barring injuries, take that out there, but I think Darnell Mooney's going to be better. I think it's a guarantee their offensive line is going to be better. Now, the other, and by the way, if they lose each week 28-24, 35-32 because the defense just sucks, who's getting the quarterback? I'm having a hard time understanding that part of it. So, but then that's a great year. Like, that's to me almost the ideal Bears year. 3 wins and Fields is good and they score a ton of points and you address you'll still need to address part of the offense, and you get aggressive defensively in the offseason with everything, all the money they're going to have in draft picks. So, but I have a hard time thinking that they're going to be worse. Like, I don't see it.
Yeah, Mark, I was actually saying too, like, I think Bears fans would be okay with the season, like, if the wins-loss column doesn't end up in their favor, if they're competitive in each game and Fields is showing progress, like, you will take that as a Bears fan, knowing that this team is in it with the Packers or in it with the Buffalo Bills that they'll play this season. So there are still good takeaways to take from a losing season, especially if Fields can show that year 2 jump that Ryan Poles is expecting, Matt Eberflus is expecting. They could do that. You'll take it.
I mean, what's your favorite game last year?
Pittsburgh, probably.
Right.
And they lost.
Lost. He was great. It was awesome. Loved it. Couldn't care less that the Steelers went down and scored at the end. That was an amazing game. Like, oh, thank you. He's good. So that
That was followed by the bye week, right?
Bye week, then Baltimore.
And then the Baltimore game.
That
where he
sucks.
comes out early.
But that was the most optimistic bye week.
Right?
Because usually, like, if you lose going into the bye week,
You're like,
it's 2 straight weeks of hell in Chicago.
Right.
Like, everybody's miserable.
Yeah.
You win going into the bye week, and then it's like everybody's way too happy. In this case, they lost that game. Everybody was happy, and then reality hit against Tyler Huntley.
Well, and that goes back to your
Ravens.
whole right. But that goes back to your whole point about Nagy and company. You telling me that he just had that game and you had just had a whole week off and you come out and you look this bad?
Yeah.
Come on, dude. I mean,
Which goes back to the coaching, because obviously one thing we did talk about that entire bye week is how the Ravens and Wink Martindale and their whole defensive, like, they were going to cause problems. It's something they were known for. They were,
Right.
especially against rookies, and they just had no answers. And that's, to me, a perfect example of where I find it really hard to just put that all on a rookie quarterback. Like, it's his fault.
You know what,
Right.
too, in that game, like, what Justin Fields' strength, rolling outside the pocket. I remember in that game against the Ravens, for the limited time he was in there, he had one snap where he was actually able to get outside the pocket. You didn't use it to his strength. So, again, going back to the coaching staff, they just didn't play to what Justin Fields does best. And, again, that's why they're gone.
yeah, and the whole Baltimore thing too, which is why I was like, can we get somebody from the Ravens? Because anybody they put in a quarterback over there is successful.
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, third down the depth chart. They and even bigger than that. Oh, Lamar Jackson is available as the last pick in the first round. Maybe not exactly how we want to play, but look at this guy. We think we can turn him into something. That is the exact opposite of what the Bears have been.
Are you trying to say that it makes sense to have a backup quarterback that can run the
Right.
same scheme as the starting quarterback and not having to have 2 different playbooks?
Makes a lot of sense.
Now we get in another uncomfortable spot. Hey, I don't know. That guy Cap was sitting out there. He might fit a little bit better than, I don't know, the whole Trevor Siemian thing. Like,
Well, Simeon can run this offense, though.
okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
and that's why they did it. That's why they didn't just sit pat. Because you could make a very strong argument Nick Foles can still be a good influence on a young quarterback. But this is why they made that switch. Now, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah,
Colin
right.
Kaepernick should still be,
Somewhere.
on a roster for sure. And the Bears, he could have helped the Bears pretty much any year.
Right.
Like since he beat their brains in San Francisco back in the day
True.
in his debut.
Hashtag Cap.
All right, Carm. Appreciate you coming in here. Great stuff.
Great to see you. I'll see you this afternoon.
I will see
Had
you
fun time
in
at
like
the
an
sock
hour
game.
Nick, good stuff.
Mark?
at the ballpark. What a
Thank you for
beautiful
having-
day.
Do I just get up and walk off right now?
Yeah,
Is that how that
it's
works?
okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless you want to sit there all day. No. Mark Carman, we appreciate him joining the show today.
All right, Chicago sports fans, if you aren't a member of our CHGO family, what are you waiting for? Members will have access to our premium content from all of our great writers. You also get a free t-shirt of your choice when you become a member, and you get access to the members-only Discord, the CHGO Lounge, and, of course, we have podcasts and live shows on every team, every day. So, again, come join this amazing family that's constantly growing here at CHGO.
All right. What do we have next? Or did we?
We are going to talk about Bears. Actually, so I wanted to bring this up, Adam, because I was watching ESPN yesterday. And Luke Kuechly was talking about his 5 linebackers. And they had different specific categories that he was kind of putting these linebackers to. The slots were field general, coverage, turnovers, run stopper, and a pass rusher. And
Say that again. That was fast.
yeah. So Luke Kuechly was given his 5 best linebackers for each individual category, and the categories were a field general, a coverage linebacker,
Yeah.
someone that creates turnovers, run stopper, and pass rusher.
Okay.
So the 5 linebackers that he had on there, Luke Kuechly, was Bobby Wagner for the field general.
Okay.
He had the coverage linebackers Levante David. Turnovers was Darius Leonard. Run stopper was Fred Warner, and the pass rusher was Micah Parsons. Nowhere listed was Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
And where I wanted to go with this is, like, what Bears players right now are just the most overlooked on a national level? And to kind of start this discussion, I'm going to say it's Roquan Smith, someone that I think is considered to be a top 5 at his position. But you never, ever hear his name in that list of linebackers that I just mentioned there. They're all for some reason, a step above him.
Yeah.
And never made, a first-team All-Pro. He's been second-team All-Pro. Still looking for that Pro Bowl vote. But Roquan Smith, to me, especially because he is actually one of the best at his position, and there are other players that have been definitely talked about lately in the national media that are being overlooked. But for me, no one's outside of maybe Bears fans here are giving Roquan Smith the credit he deserves for the player that he is.
Yeah, this seems to be like a yearly discussion at this point, that the guy is just...
I do no wrong.
There's two things are possible, okay? Either the entire country's sleeping on the dude, or we're overrating the guy.
Yeah.
But we're also the ones that sees him every single game.
And he puts up the stats that he does every single year. I
mean, I really struggle with this because I think part of it is probably, unfortunately, like he plays for the Bears, and they haven't been that good.
Yeah, and I look at the other guys that were just mentioned. Outside of the Seahawks last season, like all those other guys have played on teams that are, they'll be in the playoffs or they're at least competitive. The Bears, unfortunately, outside of 2018, haven't been in that discussion. And look, he's still got to get paid, Adam. Like that contract, and I think that'll be telling of what the obviously the player that he is and how the Bears view him. But then maybe again he'll get national media recognition for signing one of the highest paid contracts for a linebacker.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's one of those things that like kind of snowballs. As soon as you start to get that recognition, then you keep getting it, even like on the other end to the point where you don't necessarily deserve it. So, and the thing that's also unfortunate is I don't want to start hating on other guys.
No, true, yeah, those are good
like I don't want to
still.
be like, oh, Bobby Wagner still doesn't deserve all the credit he gets, but like at some point you got to look at what Roquan Smith's doing and be like,
he's better than maybe a Bobby Wagner is at this point in their careers. So I think that's perfectly fine to have that discussion. They could still be highly regarded for what they do, but like you said, like Roquan Smith just needs to enter that conversation, have a seat at the table, for you will. But other players that I think get overlooked, like when Darnell Mooney's not even considered to be a number 2, like by some national media members. Like, come on now. Like that's a guy that, he's ascending as a player, especially with the season that he had last year.
Rob Schwartz asked, what category would you put Roquan in those? Run
stopper, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they have Fred Warner there, and he's been. I think that's the one player that Bears fans are like, well, I think Roquan had better stats than him. I think it was his past season, and yet he gets the recognition. Maybe it's playing for the 49ers. Who knows? But I would put him in those 5 categories of field general, coverage, turnovers, run stopper, and pass rusher. The run stopper would be the one for me with Roquan Smith.
But you know why? This is part of the reason why I am like consistently fighting for Roquan to get the recognition he deserves. He does all of those things.
He does.
Like he might, because I think the question for Rob was like, who would you put him in over?
Okay.
And that's fair. Like, I don't know that you could put him in over another player. You made a good argument, though. But how many linebackers can do a little bit of everything, though?
Yeah.
He can run sideline to sideline. He's really dangerous when they send him in on blitzes as a pass rusher.
And I think that'll get better.
So that's another area. I'd have to compare his turnover numbers, but like I feel like he still gets his hands on the ball.
Darius Leonard is just especially good in that category, though. Like I see why he's a turnover guy. Like you keep him there, that's perfectly fine. But Roquan Smith is, definitely like I said, just be in the discussion. And I feel
he's
like
eventually taken over as the field general out there. Like he stops the run. He can drop back in coverage. He does everything.
He does. And we don't even know exactly what position he's playing with this Bears defense, the Mike or the Will. But regardless of where you put him on in this defense, like Roquan's going to be productive, is going to get his stats, and is going to make this defense better. And if the Bears ever become good, like I think that's when Roquan Smith will unfortunately get his recognition, and we don't know exactly when that's going to be.
The other player that I frequently talk about as being underrated nationally, and we'll bring up his name again, is on the other side of the ball, and that's David Montgomery.
Yes, for sure.
Who, again, like I think it's sort of a similar discussion. He's not the fastest running back. He's not the most dynamic running back. He's not leading the league in rushing, but he kind of does a little bit of everything. Like he can be a power back. I don't necessarily agree that let me rephrase that. Some people have been worried about how he fits in an outside zone running scheme. I'm not worried about that. I think he can fit a lot of different schemes. He can catch the ball when he needs to, even if he's not a type of running back that you're going to line up in the slot and have him run routes like they used to do with Tarik Cohen. But he can do like a little bit of everything out there, pick up pass block when you need him to. So, like, you know what those players are called? They're called football players.
Exactly.
They're called football players. You just know you can put them on the field and rely on them. They don't have to be the best player or the highest paid player. They're just valuable players because they're good at football. It's sometimes that simple.
It is, and like for David Montgomery too, when he's put into discussion with guys like look within the division, like a Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, guys like that. You look at the offensive lines those guys have compared to the Bears. Like David Montgomery does so much with so little. And we see that consistently every time he's fighting for extra yards, the effort that he gives, and when he's breaking tackles. But yet, when it comes down to, too, is like when you look at the stats at the end of the year, no, David Montgomery hasn't been there in total yards or things like that. But you look at him as just a pure running back, a runner, and what he can do when he doesn't have an ideal situation. Yeah, I like David Montgomery going up against a lot of these guys. I really do.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that for a team that a lot of people are not high on, the Chicago Bears right now, they do have some players that probably don't get enough recognition, and those are a couple of them right there. All right, so we are a little over 24 hours away from the schedule getting announced. There's some leakage going on social media a little bit, it seems like. It's hard to know how legitimate it is. So we'll see tomorrow, and ultimately when the thing gets announced at 7 o'clock, we will be here and break down the entire schedule for you tomorrow. We will also have a regular show at 11, so we're going double-header show tomorrow. I guess that would be a day-night double-header.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Since we'll have the 11 o'clock show, and then we'll come back in studio at 7 to break everything down. One more game got announced today. Again, not one the Bears are involved in, but Week 10 on November 13, the Cowboys will visit Lambeau Field in a late afternoon 3:25 game on Fox. Fox loves themselves some Packers in the late afternoon window.
They sure do, and I already have a feeling the Packers are going to win that one. Late in the year, Lambeau Field, Dallas going there. Don't even know. Again, obviously, it's Week 10. Season obviously hasn't started, but I'll just already give the W to the Packers there.
Who's Rodgers throwing the ball to?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know if it matters either.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, I still think. Well, let's just bring out some of the leaks that are very unverified at this point. But there's been some talk that the Bears will start Week 1 in Detroit. Mm-hmm. Right? Is it home or away?
I think that's away. So
at Detroit, which they did a couple years ago.
And again, we don't know if that's verified.
And then the other one I saw was they end the season not against Minnesota, but against Green Bay, which they did a couple years ago. But that was at Soldier Field, I think. This would be at Lambeau the last week of the season.
That's going to be really cold, Adam. Like, so cold. Yeah. Like, anywhere. Chicago, Minnesota, Green Bay. It doesn't matter. But, ending, if that's how it ends up being, starting against a division opponent against the Detroit Lions, like, I'll take that. Like, if the Bears can start against Atlanta, Houston, like an easy way into the season.
They started at Houston.
Brock Osweiler, though. We got the win over the Bears. I remember that game. Yep.
Yeah, because I...
Is that 2017, 2016?
It must have been, yeah.
Somewhere on there.
It was brutally hot in Houston, as you can imagine.
I bet.
And the Cubs were playing the Astros at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So, speaking of day-night doubleheaders, you had the Bears game at noon and then was able to go over to, I think it was still Minute Maid at that point.
Okay.
Minute Maid Park or whatever, and watched the Astros and Cubs.
What's the
often
coldest
have you done
Bears
that?
game
Oh.
you guys can remember?
Coldest?
Attending. I went to a couple years ago when I was like a freshman in high school. Bears Cowboys
Yeah,
Monday
that's-
night,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
people's beers were like freezing in their hands.
Was that the Ditka game too?
Yeah, Alshon had a touchdown in the back corner of the end zone. Josh McCown was that stretch of going absolutely insane
Yeah.
for the Bears.
Yeah, because Ditka was on the podium at halftime, like with no coat on and no hat, just yelling,
Just
"Go Bears!
Go Bears.
Right? Yeah, I remember that. That was one. There's been some cold ones at Lambeau too.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's hard for me to answer that because, like,
Press box.
you know, when you're in the press box, you know it's cold outside, but you're not really feeling it. So you don't.
Yeah.
Even though, like, yeah, it's it's 3 degrees out or whatever, but like you're not actually experiencing it. So
For sure.
thank God.
In 2016, my friend Ben and I went to Bears Packers at Soldier Field. Matt Barkley was the quarterback
yeah.
that game. And that was legit. We didn't know if we were going to come away with our toes or not. But we did. We still got all the toes there. But that was easily the cold. It was like on pace to be one of the coldest games ever at Soldier Field. But I think it warmed up like a degree. And it didn't end up being that. But Bears Packers, I believe it was 2016 where, yeah, that one, whew, that was a experience for sure.
There was a game a few years ago at Lambeau too, where Akeem Hicks was like, I saw him the following week, like in a hallway, and he was just like, that was the most miserable game ever.
Yeah.
So I wonder if
2016 versus the Packers,
There it is.
-4 wind chill.
Yeah,
that must have been the
sucked.
game.
5th coldest game at Soldier Field ever.
That one's at Soldier Field though. The one that Akeem was talking about was at Lambeau, maybe like 2019. I think it was 2019.
Man, playing football in like that cold weather, like every hit feels even worse. Catching the football sucks. Everything sucks.
What will be the coldest game at the new Arlington Heights Stadium? 68 degrees.
Yeah, because it'll be indoors. Yes, let's go. Looking forward to it.
We'll see. They better put a roof on that place. All right. Well, we are doubling up tomorrow again, 11 a.m. We'll have our regular show. I'm sure there'll be some
Something. More news.
leaks
more
coming
leakage.
out. We'll discuss whatever leaks are out there and what we think of it. But the real show, I shouldn't say the real show, but the real schedule show will be later in prime time at 7 o'clock. We will be here, right here in these seats, breaking down the entire schedule. We'll probably give our wins and losses, which are guaranteed to be accurate.
That's gospel. Yep.
Without a doubt. They will all be 100% right. All of our predictions on the show always are 100% guaranteed. We just want to make sure you know that. But thanks for watching today on the CHGO Bears Podcast presented by PointsBet. Again, use that code CHGO. We appreciate everybody who has done that. Get those T-shirts, those memberships at allchgo.com. Got a lot of content up there for you to look at too. And follow us on Twitter at CHGO_sports and _Bears. I'm at Adam Hogue. He's at Nicholas Moriano. We will talk to you tomorrow, 11 a.m.